at it just across the way, because in the stained glass there is Romans 3:28, and specifically, for we maintain that a man is justified by faith apart from works of the law. And so we have Lagedzamatha gar dikai usthai pistai anthropon chorus ergon namu. For we reckon or consider to be justified by faith a man apart from works of law. And as you might know, historically, one of the accusations that modern Roman Catholics place against Martin Luther is that he added to Romans 3:28. He added to Romans 3:28 because in the Luther Bible, and I believe that let's see if it's there. Interestingly enough, the 1912 Luther Bible does not have that. They've changed it. I wonder if that would cause Luther to spin in his grave. I think it probably would, knowing Brother Luther. But they don't. I don't think that I have the old version of the Luther Bible in my stuff here, so I can't show it to you. But he, in Latin, anyways, rendered Romans 3:28 sola per sola fidem, or solum fidem. I'm not sure how it would be, but anyway, by faith alone. And Roman Catholics will say, see, he couldn't make his case simply from the scriptures. He had to change the scriptures. Well, if you notice the context, where then is boasting is excluded. By what kind of law? Of works? No, but by a law of faith. And so the context itself is creating a contrast between works and faith, so that when Paul says, we maintain that a man is justified by faith apart from works of the law, there's nothing else you can add in. And so by faith alone, apart from works of the law, nothing can be added to this as the grounds of justification. But what is interesting and maybe helpful to you is to know that Luther was not, in fact, doing something new. A lot of people think that he was not. The reality is that the Nuremberg Bible of 1483. Now remember, the Reformation begins in 1517. Luther is pushing this in the early 1520s. And so nearly 40 years earlier, the Nuremberg Bible of 1483 had allein durch den Glauben. Allein durch den Glauben. Alone. Allein. Only through faith. The Italian Bible of Geneva in 1476, and then even in 1538, so this is after the Reformation, had in Latin per sola fide. Sola fide. Faith alone. So this was in Geneva, but these were Italian Bibles, and 1476. So that's long before Luther, and so that means he was not alone in his understanding at this point, and that there were people before him. In fact, some have said that at least initially he was following them. I'm not sure there's really a strong argument to be made there as being able to trace the information or anything along those lines. But the point is that this really remains key to the issue of the Reformation to this day and to the gospel to this day. And that is, we maintain that a man is justified pistai, chorus, ergon, namu, by faith, apart from works of the law. Now, that does not denigrate the law, for as Paul himself is going to say in verse 31, do we then nullify the law through faith? May it never be. On the contrary, me genoita, we establish the law. But what we the means by which we establish the law is that we establish the proper purpose of the law, and then the fulfillment of the law in Christ Jesus, in his sacrificial death, and then in the imputation of righteousness, Romans 4:4-8, that comes after this. Sadly, for many today, these are esoteric, theological issues that, what does this really have to do with me? And it has everything to do with you. It has everything to do with every man in every culture at every time, because this is what God has done. This is what God has done to bring about salvation and to bring about peace with himself, is the gospel. And we need to understand what that gospel is. And it is so easy for the church today to become distracted with so many different things and to lose sight of what's truly important and what's truly central.